Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and boy, what an honor to have with us today a gentleman that really shapes a lot of thinking that goes on in this country. He and his organization, Dr. Ed Feulner is with us today. He's the president of the Heritage Foundation, and he's co-authored a book entitled The American Spirit, celebrating the virtues and the values that make us great. Dr. Feulner, what an honor to have you with us, sir.
It's great to be with you, Perry, and to think about many, many happy days my wife and I spent out in your area, down near Gold Beach and areas like that in Oregon.
Well, this is where God bought his retirement home. Did you know that?
That sounds great. Great.
Nice to have you with us. First of all, thank you for the work that you and your incredible organization does there at the Heritage Foundation. You folks are shaping policy and making a huge difference. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir. We are trying to keep America free and forward-looking, and that's why I'm so optimistic about the future.
I want to talk to you about that. First of all, your book, thank you again, a great piece of work. The few moments we do have this morning, what are you trying to get us to get from this book, The American Spirit?
What I wanted to do, Brian Tracy and I, with our book, was to get thinking Americans to remember that we are an exceptional nation, that America, based on these 20 principles of the American spirit, we all should be optimistic, we should be forward-looking, we should be trying to figure out how we and our children and grandchildren especially can do even better and make this country an even better place.
Well, you do that exceptionally well. Do you think that this is beginning to resonate? People now are tired of all the things, and they're now digging deep into our roots and realizing, hey, wait a minute, our forefathers had it right to begin with.
I think they are, Perry. Part of our problem, of course, is that with one book, you can't really overcome some of the deficiencies in our education system, some of the other big challenges we face. But frankly, we do hope that this book is going to have a long shelf life. And not that people will sit down and read it cover to cover, but that from time to time they'll pull it out and they'll read a chapter to their kids and to their grandkids and say, hey, this is what we believe, this is what makes us great.
All right, the two words that we now see battered around, and I'd like for you to take a few moments and just highlight them, and that's the words freedom and liberty. I think a lot of people may not understand exactly where that comes from and why they are so important to us.
Well, freedom is particularly central to what we believe in here in America and in terms of the American spirit. And freedom basically means we've been given some rights from the divine, from God. And that's very, very fundamental to what our whole system is about, to what the American founders had in mind when they signed the Declaration of Independence 236 years ago, and when they wrote the Constitution after that. Freedom is not something that we get from government. Freedom is, again, something that comes from the divine, from above. It's natural rights. It's the right of each individual to rise to whatever she or he can be and can become. And that's what makes America so exceptional.
What about liberty?
Liberty is intrinsic to who we are, to what we are. Liberty is opportunity. Liberty is how you define a future and how you make life better, really, for yourself. And when we talk about freedom too, we have to think, having just come off the 4th of July, about the great sacrifices that have been made by so many of our forebears. General Colin Powell, I think, said it well when he said, we saved Europe twice during the last century, and the only land we ever asked for was enough land to bury our dead. So when you think about the shoulders that we stand on so that we can see as far as we can, we are so fortunate to be Americans and to be able to enjoy the freedom, to be able to exercise liberty in terms of our own individual choices. It's really quite remarkable.
Dr. Feulner, we have fought a lot of wars, like you said, there in Europe, and we've helped a lot of nations in order to keep them free as well as ourselves. But now we're fighting another war, and that is the very virtues of freedom and liberty inside this country. Did you ever think you would see those attributes being threatened like they are today?
No. We can go back, we'll trace it back to the start of the progressive movement, not only in political context with Woodrow Wilson in the late stages of Teddy Roosevelt and his administrations, but also to the educational philosophy of John Dewey and others who were basically moral relativists who thought, well, there is nothing that's bigger than we are, and we can shape the whole world, we can shape the whole future. No, we have a defined role. Yes, we can be free. Yes, we can exercise free choice. But I never really thought that we'd be at a stage now where we are, where we're actually debating whether this is what the future of America is all about. And that's what concerns me, is that some politicians these days would really try to change the whole ground rules under which we're working.
All right, now there seems to be an appetite of growth of government unlike anything we've ever seen, which literally robs us of the freedom and liberty of who we are. It's still we the people, but we're having a hard time getting that turned around to where we the people are back in control. Let me ask you this election cycle that we're in, Doctor, is so important. Do you think the American people now are beginning to sense, hey, wait a minute, something's broken, we really aren't free, we need to make a change?
I believe they are, Perry. As I travel around the country, I'll be going to California day after tomorrow. I've been in Chicago and New York and Pennsylvania in the last couple of weeks. Everywhere I go, the American people are saying, hey, no more of this. We are really energized. We are going to be involved in this year's campaigns from top to bottom, from the presidency right on down to county seats to local school boards. We are going to make a real commitment. And I think it's a real tribute to all those Americans who have said, I've been on the sidelines long enough. I really want to get in the battle this time around. And this is one of the real threshold elections that I've ever seen in the 55 years now that I've been following politics closely.
All right, what did you think of the last Supreme Court ruling? Do we have a judicial crisis going on?
Well, I was obviously disappointed in terms of where the Supreme Court came down. It was pretty clear to those who read the decision carefully that it was kind of a mixed bag. Yes, there were limits in terms of what the federal government could do in terms of the Commerce Clause, but no limitation in effect on taxes. And boy, you think about what Americans originally fought for, what America was founded over. It was founded over the level of taxes. I mean, that's where the original Tea Party came from in the Boston Harbor.
Right.
It didn't come out of a TV studio in Chicago with Rick Santelli. You know, it came from a real revulsion about too much taxes. And so it's time again, I think, for us to get back to some of those basic principles, to remind ourselves that we have three co-equal branches, that the American people can make a real difference in terms of two of those three right away, and in the third one in terms, again, of who's appointed to the bench and then who gets confirmed by the Senate.
What can you say about personal responsibility? I mean, a lot of people get turned off, and so a lot of these things can be over-emotionalized and create a lot of fury. But there's a personal responsibility in our stewardship of being citizens of this country. What can you say to that?
Oh, personal responsibility, of course. F.A. Hayek, the great philosopher, political scientist, always said that the reason that we have freedom is so that we can exercise it responsibly. We have to be responsible for ourselves. We have to be responsible for our families. To be responsible is to be a mature citizen, is to lead a fulfilling life, really. And when we talk in the book and we give some examples and cite some stories, some of them kind of cute, about how far afield we have gone from individual responsibility, about dependence on government. And it's almost shocking, really, when you think about how many people now, for generations, are really looking at, well, the government is, that's really responsible for me, it's responsible for my family. No, it isn't. This is not a serf-like condition that we live in. We're a free people, and that means responsibility.
Wow, wonderful. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners again, it's called The American Spirit, celebrating the virtues and the values that makes us great. And let me encourage you to get a copy of it. It is put out by Thomas Nelson, and check it out at Evangel, or check it out at Barnes & Noble, or online at Amazon, and get a copy of this. This is a tremendous resource for you to have, to read for yourself, and then most of all, sit down and share it with your children and grandchildren. Dr. Feulner, with a few moments we have left, I know that you write a great deal about generosity. When I look at this, America in the end is a very generous nation. We have helped people all over the world, and a lot of that generosity comes out of the faith community. Just going out and doing the right thing. I would hope that we continue that virtue in this country and allow the faith community to reach out. They do it so much more efficiently than the government does.
Not only more efficiently, Perry, but with real concern from the heart. Just within the last 10 days, we had these kind of mega storms back here on the East Coast. And it was kind of horrifying when you think there were several million people without power for 3 or 4 days. But then it was so gratifying to read in the local papers, see on local TV back here, that hundreds of churches, of places of worship were now collecting canned food to distribute it to people whose refrigerators had gone out and who therefore didn't have anything to eat, who were able to respond in a way that FEMA or some distant bureaucracy, it would take them 2 weeks to figure out where the problem was.
Right.
But boy, those of us who believe, as de Tocqueville did 180 years ago when he talked about the intermediate institutions between the private citizen and government, that's what America's all about. And it's that free will giving that really makes a difference. And you're absolutely right. It is so evident in our faith community.
Oh, wonderful. Well, again, people can join the Heritage Community, or Heritage, organization how?
Go to heritage.org. We'd love to have you join the almost 700 people who are 700,000, 700,000 people who are with us right now as our members. Take a look at what we're saying about all the policy issues, but beyond that, be reaffirmed, be optimistic about the future, and stay involved.
Oh, that's wonderful. Dr. Feulner, I know you're a busy man. Thank you. I cherish the moments we've had together this morning. Come back to Oregon. We'll put you on the river and let you catch a big salmon.
Wonderful. Thanks, Perry. Great to be with you.